Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
And will. I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night-night guy.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And would I watch it? No.
If Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again,
Joe Rogan cautions that Jake Paul is walking into extremely dangerous territory by even thinking about facing Anthony Joshua. According to Rogan, Joshua isn't just a heavyweight. He's an Olympic gold medalist and one of the most explosive punchers of this generation. Rogan suggests that if this matchup ever happened, Joshua would likely use the opportunity to send a strong message and shut down the idea of influencers calling out world-class champions for attention. He explains that the skill gap between the two is so massive that the fight could end in a very harsh, possibly devastating way for Jake.
He beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if, right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not think.
Olympic gold medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou, like, good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for. That fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
And will. I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
Wade Plemons, host of the Wade Concept podcast, issues a strong warning to Jake Paul, saying that taking on Anthony Joshua is more than just a risky challenge. It could be physically dangerous. Plemons explains that Jake's natural weight is around 90 kilograms, while Joshua competes near 111 kilograms, creating a huge gap in size, power, and overall physical force. He notes that picking opponents for entertainment is one thing, but stepping into the ring with a heavyweight who has Olympic-level experience is an entirely different reality. Joshua, after all, is an Olympic gold medalist with years of elite training behind him. Plemons argues that if Joshua were to knock Jake out, the consequences could be long-lasting, even career-changing. He believes Jake's desire for big paydays is distracting him from the very real danger of facing a seasoned champion who hits far harder than anyone Jake has fought before.
One, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and maybe in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are final.
Boxing Kingdom reported on X that negotiations are underway for a potential professional bout between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. According to them, this would not be an exhibition. The match would follow official Queensberry rules, meaning it would be governed by full professional standards. If finalized, the fight would include sanctioned officials, regulated scoring, and all the protocols of a legitimate pro contest, underscoring the real risks involved for both fighters. Rumors are spreading quickly across the boxing world that the fight is being lined up for December. However, Eddie Hearn Joshua's longtime promoter, says the talk is premature. He explains that no contracts have been signed and that a lot of the circulating information is still based on speculation that, on the other hand, seasoned combat sports journalist Ariel Helwani points out that the volume of discussion surrounding this matchup usually means something is happening behind the scenes. Helwani suggests that when a rumor builds this much momentum, it often signals that negotiations are moving in a real direction, possibly for late this year or early next year. While Hearn is urging caution, Helwani believes the fight could come together sooner than many fans expect.
Are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so, what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? Do you think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davis's take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know.
This isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season.
MMA Fighting shared on X that Leon Edwards has weighed in on the growing rumors surrounding a potential matchup between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Edwards joked that if Joshua doesn't knock Jake out within the first 1 or 2 rounds, then something must be wrong. His reaction underscores the massive difference in skill, experience, and punching power between the two fighters. Edwards' comment suggests that Joshua's dominance should be so overwhelming that a longer fight would seem unbelievable. Coming from a reigning UFC welterweight champion, his perspective highlights just how dangerous this matchup could be and reinforces the skepticism many fans have about Jake Paul's ability to handle Joshua's power.
This fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if Asia doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Francis Ngannou, the former MMA heavyweight champion who transitioned to boxing, once stepped into the ring with Anthony Joshua and suffered a devastating knockout. That fight made it clear that Joshua's power is no myth. His heavyweight striking and technical control are the real deal. Jake Paul had already floated the idea of fighting Ngannou, which alone was a daring move considering Francis' reputation as one of the most dangerous punchers in combat sports. But now the conversation has shifted toward Anthony Joshua, a man who poses an even bigger threat. Jake is eyeing a fighter who not only stopped Ngannou, but has consistently proven that his size, speed, and heavyweight experience make him a terrifying opponent that, in simple terms, Jake is chasing a man who defeated someone as dangerous as Ngannou, a gamble with huge potential reward, but even greater risk. Earlier on, the discussion centered around a possible Jake Paul versus Ngannou fight. However, Francis publicly dismissed the idea, saying it was disrespectful to even suggest he should face a crossover YouTuber-turned-boxer. He made it clear he wasn't interested in entertaining a matchup he considered a waste of time.
On with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. No, it's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua, and Joshua shows you how it's done. Right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments, I mean, you take Joshua Benson, an Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing says you can tie Joshua to. And he's a professional, and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense. Right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to... Now, none of us know what sense mean. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or...
Simon Jordan, a well-known UK boxing analyst and former football club owner, didn't hold back when addressing the rumors. He dismissed the idea of Anthony Joshua fighting Jake Paul as completely absurd. Jordan admits the financial upside would be enormous, but says the matchup has nothing to do with real competition and everything to do with creating a spectacle. He stresses that Joshua is a two-time world heavyweight champion who has faced elite opponents and built a legitimate legacy. Jake Paul, in Jordan's view, is nowhere close to that level of experience or credibility. He argues that a fight like this wouldn't add anything meaningful to Joshua's career. Instead, it would only put Jake in serious danger and diminish the integrity of heavyweight boxing.
Paul, in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact. Whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might damage it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his bank balance. But I don't think. I think in the great. I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No. But after, when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business. And Anthony Joshua is an entertainer. And you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Tony Bellew, the former WBC cruiserweight world champion turned boxing analyst, has firmly spoken out against the idea of an Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight. Bellew stated, "I won't believe this is real until both men are actually standing in the ring." He stressed that boxing is a respected sport built on rules, structure, and fighter safety, not a circus where obvious mismatches are created just for clicks and profit. Bellew insists that size matters, experience matters, and heavyweight power matters. In his view, Jake Paul has not built the foundation required to step in with someone like Anthony Joshua. Bellew believes that before any agreement is even discussed, promoters and sanctioning bodies must prioritize the protection of the less experienced fighter, in this case, Jake, rather than exposing him to unnecessary danger. Across podcasts, media panels, and industry commentary, many boxing analysts share similar concerns. They've described the proposed matchup as extremely dangerous due to the overwhelming differences in experience, physical strength, ring intelligence, and proven power. Analysts argue that while Jake might convince himself he can compete, he fails to acknowledge that Joshua hits with genuine knockout force, controls distance, expertly dictates the pace, and has spent his entire adult life at the pinnacle of heavyweight boxing. The overall consensus is clear. If Jake believes he can endure Joshua's punches and survive multiple rounds, he is being wildly unrealistic.
Unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa. I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him. And I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, delusionally in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the